to please people, and we think that if we can escape from people, that it's okay, right? Like when I'm driving, I don't feel like I'm breaking the law going 85 miles an hour in a 55 zone if the police don't see me, right? I only broke the law if they pull me over, right? Who believes that? If you believe that, raise your hand. If you believe that you only broke the law if the police catch you, raise your hand.
I feel bad about it when the police catch you.
Amen, amen. How many of you believe that even if they don't catch you, you still broke the law because the speed limit is 55 and you were going 85, and still because you didn't get caught doesn't mean that you wasn't wrong, right? What do we call that in spiritual terms? We call that grace. Like when God looked past everything that we did wrong, when we broke the law, when we went 85 in a 55-mile zone, and God said, I'm going to forgive you. Even though you're guilty, even though you're wrong, I'm not going to hold it against you. That's crazy, right? David said, I'd rather fall into the hands of an angry God than to fall into the hands of man, because people don't know how to let things go. People tell you, I'll forgive you, and I want this with you, and I want to go here with you. But in reality, people have a hard time of letting go when you hurt them. But we want God to forgive us right away, right? It's crazy, right? Somebody talked about us at school. And we're like, you know what? I ain't going to talk to her no more. She's not cool. And we're going to talk about her to everybody else we know because she hurt us. She hurt our feelings. She was lying about us, right? And so you know what? I don't want to be her friend. I don't want to talk to her no more because she messed up my identity, right? So when we see her and we're in a room with other friends and they might talk to her, we walk right past her, right? Because you offended me. I want to fight you because you talked about me. You said that I was dating Charlie, and I don't even like Charlie like that. You know, now everybody around me think I like Charlie because this girl, Shanae, said that I like Charlie, right? But we got to be able to have a moment in our life where we say, you know what, I forgive you, Shanae. I'm not going to hold it against you. I'm not going to not talk to you. Because if God could be gracious in my life, when I should have went to jail and got a ticket for going 85 miles in a 55-mile zone, why can't I forgive other people that have harmed me in my life? Why do we have a hard time with that? Why do we have a hard time of letting things go? Some of you are like, what do you mean by this, Pastor? Let's go to the next page. The Bible tells us that there was a Samaritan woman, right? The Bible says when Jesus met the Samaritan woman, this is in your notes, Samaritan is the answer to one of your questions. The Bible tells us that the woman at the well, he spoke of living water. So we know that she's a Samaritan woman, right? The one thing, if you know anything about geography or anything about biblical time, you will know that Samaritans were not received by Jews, right? Or they were not received by Gentiles. They were like a hybrid in between. Today we will see that as a child that was mixed with half black and half white, or half Mexican and half black, right? They were their own identity. They had their own race, right? So a lot of times people didn't want to have anything to do with Samaritans, right? It was so bad that the Jews would go about a day and a half journey around Samaria because they didn't want to pass through these heathens to get to a destination versus going through it, right? So what had happened is that Jesus said, I'm going to go through Samaria. But they were like, why would a Jewish rabbi go through a place like Samaria, right? And at the noon of the day, his disciples were gone somewhere, and he met this woman at the well. And Jesus asked this woman, he said, can you give me a cup of water? Number one, that was wrong in biblical days because a man that is not married to a woman, they wouldn't talk to women back then. It was like bad. Like it was to the point that they would not talk because women were considered back in those biblical days as second-class citizens. So you wouldn't see a husband talking to his wife or his daughter in public because people would look at him crazy like, why are you talking to a woman? You know what I mean? And so what began to happen is that Jesus was forbidden to talk to a woman, and it wasn't his wife. So for him to ask this woman for a glass of water was crazy, right? So Jesus said, he was like, can I have a glass of water? The woman started talking to him. And number one, she's at the noon of the day, so that's the hottest point of the day over in the Middle East. I know over here, 3 or 4 o'clock is the hottest point of the day. You know, it ain't at noon. Noon is still only like 99. It's still going to get to about 105 that day. But where they were, noon was the hottest point of the day. And so this woman had to come at the middle part of the day because she was unaccepted by everybody else. Normally in the morning, the women would come and get all the water that they would need to wash clothes, because back then they didn't have washers and dryers like we got today. They had to get water out of the well. They had to scrub the clothes together. We should do that one day right here at the church. Scrub the clothes together, get clothes together, and do it like that. They had to hang the clothes up, right? They also have to have water for food, right? They also have to have water for bathing. So women had to work hard back then because they had to go get a bucket of water. They had to go take it back and then go get another bucket of water. And so Jesus is meeting up with this woman. This woman went at the noon of the day because nobody else would accept her. Nobody else wanted her around them because this woman had an issue. Like many of us, her issue was that she didn't have real identity. The Bible said that she had 5 husbands. The Bible says that she came to Jesus. Jesus told her, you already have 5 husbands, and the husband that you're with, the guy you're with, is not even really your husband. So this woman had an issue. And Jesus is talking to this woman, telling her about herself. And oftentimes, when we have that encounter with God, what God begins to do is that God begins to show us our real self. And I told you a few weeks ago that a lot of us really don't want people to tell us about the real us, right? We really don't want to come face to face with the real us. That we're liars, that we talk about people behind their back, that we're no good, and all these different things about the real us. A lot of us don't want to deal with that real reality. So what we do, we put on masks, right? And I don't mean that we put on physical masks, being Bugs Bunny and being all these different people putting on real masks. But what we do, we begin to mask it spiritually. And so on the outside, everything looks like it's okay. But on the inside, everything looks so ugly. And oftentimes we live our lives in this place. Like this woman at the well. And so Jesus was like, no, don't give me the camouflage answer. But he was like, I want to give you a drink of water that will be eternity. I want you to embrace. And the woman was thinking about that it was natural. She was thinking about, maybe this is talking about water. What kind of water is this that I would never have to go get water again, right? She was like, I need this. And I think she thought Jesus was talking about like a water faucet like we got in our houses, right? Like we ain't got to go out to no well no more. We can have unlimited water, right? She like, where do they sell those at? Where can I get that at? And Jesus is like, I'm not talking about a natural flow of water. I'm talking about rescuing you from where you are, and I'm talking about giving you eternity in me. And a lot of times, we can't catch that, right? Because the encounter tells us where we are, and Jesus gives us the solution to our problem. And say, yes, at one time you were here, but now I want to take you here, right? Yes, you were broken. Paul was a persecutor of the church. He killed Christians. And after God got through with him, his encounter was that I'm going to break you down, I'm going to blind you so you can do my mission. There's a lot of people in the Bible that had issues. Jacob, he was a trickster. See that Jacob's well, you know what I mean? Which had died many years before, but Jacob was a trickster. He tricked his brother and said, hey, if you give me your birthright, I'll give you this porridge, because his brother was hungry. Tricked his brother. He tricked his dad. He went to put stuff on his arm, so when it came down to his father giving him the blessing, his inheritance, his money and everything else, father was old, couldn't see. So Jacob tricked his dad by putting stuff on his arms, wool on his arm. So when his father would feel his arm, he would think that it was Esau. But God can take people that are broken, people that got problems, people, and when you get to that meeting place with the Lord, he will change your life. Many of us haven't met Jesus at a well. Many of us, our problem was not that. But we all have a certain problem. The thing that I love about a well is that you can throw things within a well. A couple wells I saw, I know I used to like dropping quarters in them. And I would like to just leave it there, you know what I mean? That quarter, and you look at it drop down there. But today,